السميع العليم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت معدود ولا أجل ممدود ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا صلى على محمد وعلى محمد واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى لقاء يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم كتابه الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإن تبدوا ما في أنفسكم أو تخفوه يحاسبكم به الله صلوات please اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. My condolences to all of you, all the mu'mineen throughout the world, Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam, all the ulama, maraji. And on top of everyone, Imam Sahib al-Asr wa zaman, ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. On this, salli ala Muhammad, on this day of martyrdom of Imam Jawad at-Taqi alayhi salam, who is our ninth holy Imam. Alhamdulillah, we Shiites have been gifted with two precious gifts, which are told by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Have a salawat on him. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Ya la ilaha illa ant, bihaqqi la ilaha illa ant. One is the Quran Kareem and the other is Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam. Other Muslims, they don't have this. Quran Kareem is a complete set of rules, as we know, and Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam are spotless, perfect, and infallible interpreters of Quran. They don't make any mistakes while telling us what has our Creator revealed to us. So this guarantees the guidance and proper and true guidance and correct instructions of how to live our lives. Now, if I want to introduce Imam Jawad Al-Assalam in brief, he is the son of our 8th Imam, Imam Ali Ar-Rida alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. His mother is Bibi Sabika salamullahi alayha, who is basically from an Egyptian dynasty. She also has another name, Khayzuran, salamullahi alayha. And this is enough to introduce both Imam Jawad and Bibi Sabika salamullahi alayha, as Imam Rida alayhi salam once said to his companions, He said that ولد لي شبيه موسى بن عمران فالق البحار وشبيه عيسى بن مريم قدست ولدته قد خلقت طاهرة مطهرة. I have been gifted with a son who is a likeness to Musa ibn Imran alayhi salam, like he used to split the oceans. This son of mine is going to split the ocean of knowledge. And his mother, this is very interesting, an infallible Imam introducing a non-infallible person this way. Imam resembles Hazrat Bibi Sabika with Bibi Maryam salamullahi alayha, and Imam says, Tahira mutahhara. She is holy and purified like Bibi Maryam salamullahi alayha. Have a salawat on both of them. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This tells us the whole story. This tells a lot about Imam and about his holy mother. Now, Imam was, of course, born in 195, 10th of Rajab, we all know. But this is the only Imam who was martyred at the youngest age. That's what we are here for today. His shahadat happened when he was only 25. And it was normal tradition in Arabs back those days. They will call a 40 years man a grown-up man. This is so sad and heartbreaking. But this Imam, with his spotless character, he not only is a perfect exemplar for all of the mankind, especially youth. I normally take him as a role model for youth. Because not only he was Muntajab, his other titles, Jawad, being extra generous. He has a famous title, At-Taqi, which is from Taqwa. And when he was at his Shahada time, 25, that means he was acting with perfect, taqwa and piety, when he was some like 12, 13, 14, 15. That's when they started calling him Taqi, and especially when that Ma'mun, to paint him, astaghfirullah, as a common person, when he invited Imam to Baghdad, he had arranged 100 the most beautiful looking slave girls and had commanded them to prepare themselves, put their best dresses, their ornaments, and stand in lines. When Imam is going to enter, all of them, they had a glass of water with a jewel in it to impress Imam. He wanted to bring Imam to the noble life they were living, to reduce on their taqwa and their higher honorable status of being from Ali Muhammad and Alim Ali Muhammad. He wanted to do that. But Riwayah says, as Imam enters, Imam's head was down. His gaze was lowered. He never looked at even a single of them. He passes through them without paying any attention. And they started calling him, this guy is a really taqi. He's a real muttaqi. Have a salawat on him. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. His kunya is Abu Ja'far. And you just heard, he was martyred by the command of Mu'tasam Billah, Abbasi Khalifa. His age of Imamate coincided with two Abbasid Khalifas, Ma'mun and Mu'tasam. And Imam was only, as I said, 7.5 when the lofty status of Imamat was granted to him. Basically, he became the Imam. And that itself was a new chapter for preparation of all the Shias for Ghaibat of Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. Salli Allah. I wanted to introduce Imam, that Imam, like all the infallible Imams, had huge emphasis on ethical values. Imam always stressed that we must do our self-building. And the very first practical step is to do mujahada ba nafs, battle with the self. Jihad by nafs, which as per the hadith is named Jihadul Akbar. Now if you ask ulama fi akhlaq, how to do Jihadul Akbar, that's a quite generic word. Jihadul Akbar, where to start with? The first thing they will tell you is to start with your personal accountability. Muhasiba-e-Nafs. Do your self-accounting or self-accountability. Calculate. What is the definition of self-accountability? You sit down at the end of the day and you calculate what did I do or how did I do today, as for the good or the evil deeds. Like a meticulous businessman does his counting at the end of the day or week or month, or his fiscal quarter. And he checks against profits and losses. If profit, it could be only two options. Either he's making profits or he's losing money. If profits, that proves at least two things. Number one, his method is correct. His technique of business is correct. Number two, he must follow the same method. If he sees loss, that automatically tells either there are culprits in his office, unlettered workers, they need some serious training, or they are thieves, they are stealing at him. If he's making money, but still sees loss, that means somebody is stealing money from the office. That's why there's no profit. Likewise, the self-accountability goes a long way. And the beauty is, it is very much related with the natural system, with the nature we live in. If you look at the first source, Quran-e-Kareem, you will find so many ayat. Like in beginning of Surah Marka Ar-Rahman, Ash-Shamsu wal-Qamaru bi-Husban. The sun and the moon, they are disposed with a precise calculation. बड़े हिसाब किताब से इन दोनों को चलाया जा रहा है. It's in the nature, right? And you keep on looking in the ayat and ayat and ayat, and let me come back to the ayat I recited in my khutbah. وَإِن تُبْدُوا, this is from Surah Marka Al-Baqarah, ayah number 284. If you, إِن تُبْدُوا مَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَوْ تُخْفُوهُ, if you dispose what's in your heart or you hide it, يُحَاسِبْكُمْ بِهِ اللَّهِ, Allah is going to do your hisab with it. Allah is going to go do accounting of it. Doesn't matter you show it or you hide it. Nothing is hidden from Allah. Tawheed of Allah does not mean just oneness of Allah. The attributes of Allah, they're also included in Tawheed, and one of them is, Quran says, إِنَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ. He knows my thoughts. What thoughts pass through my mind, Allah reads them perfectly. Nothing is hidden from Him. So hisab is the key word. Our reckoning. You keep on going. I want to mention two more ayat, please. To put emphasis, as Ahl Bayt, they have put emphasis on self-accountability. One is this one I just recited. I lied, two more. Is that okay? Have a salawat, please. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. It's okay. وَنَضَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ, Surah Marka Anbiya says, the day we will set, it's okay, brother, please. وَنَضَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ الْقِسْطَ لِيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. And we will set the scales of justice on the day of resurrection. Please pay attention. On the day of resurrection, our deeds, regardless of evil or good deeds, they are going to be weighed physically. You have heard about the mizan, right? Yes. Scale, balance. It will have only two scale pans. Good deeds on one, evil deeds on one. If the good deeds go down, the guy is a lucky guy. Quran Kareem gives to an extent. For mu'min, no. For this part of the world, somebody told me once, I mentioned these ayat of Surah Al-Haqqa, Quran gives a complete commentary that how will it be done. If you want me to give you that commentary, recite a salawat, otherwise stay quiet. Salawat is the Salli ala Muhammad. Salawat is the most loved action near Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And let me give you a secret before I go to the commentary of Quran. When the day of resurrection, Allah is going to put the balance there, scales there. We are going to have the heaviest action in our scale pan of good deeds. Somebody questioned Rasulullah once, Ya Rasulullah, you mentioned Yawma tarjuful jibalu. Yawma tarjuful ardu wal jibalu, and the jibal will be called ahnil manfush. They will be like flying in the air. How about us humans? यानी धुन की हुई रुई की तरह उड़ेंगे. How about us humans? Will we not like fly over? Rasulullah said, yes, that's a very critical question. If you want to get some weight and gravitas to stay on the ground, whoever recites salawat ala Muhammad and ali Muhammad, he will be stable on the face of earth. Salli ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And in our scale pan of good deeds, the prominent action which will be seen and noticed is salawat ala Muhammad and ali Muhammad. You know Ahlul Bayt, they taught us, look at the Sahifa Sajjadiyah. In beginning, you recite salawat. At the end, you recite salawat. Somebody questioned, why is that? They said, Allah is so gracious and so merciful and so kind. He never rejects salawat because he himself joins when somebody recites salawat. You know the ayah salawat. And when he sees beginning salawat, ending salawat, he feels haya to deny in the middle. So he accepts the entire dua. So please, whenever you want to invoke Allah, recite durood in beginning and at the end, and inshallah your dua will be accepted in its entirety. Have a salawat on Muhammad. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Because this action, Allah joins, the angels of Allah join. And this is the only action I know at least, which in any condition you can do it. It's such a worship. You don't need wudu for that. You don't need pure dress for this. You don't need to be facing Qibla for this. You don't need to be in the masjid. There's no condition on it. And the reward is unlimited. Now coming back to the commentary, Allah says, وَنَضَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ الْقِسْطَ لِيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ فَلَا تُظْلَمُ نَفْسٌ شَيْئًا. When I'm going to put the scales of justice on the day of resurrection, no nafs, no person or no soul will be wronged with the least bit. Nothing. وَإِنْ كَانَ مِثْقَالَ خَرْدَلٍ. If it's going to be a mustard seed, good or evil deed, أَتَيْنَا بِهَا. I'm going to produce it. I'm going to bring it. وَكَفَى بِنَا حَاسِبِينَ. This is the word I wanted to mention. And I suffice, or we suffice as reckoners. I'm enough to do your reckoning, your hisab. This is the ayah. Now look at the commentary. How will it happen? Surah Haqqa says, as I said, nothing will be hidden. يَوْمَئِذٍ تُعْرَضُونَ لَا تَخْفَى مِنْكُمْ خَافِيَةٌ. You will be brought in before, in presence of your Lord. Nothing will be concealed that day. لَا تَخْفَى مِنْكُمْ خَافِيَةٌ. Not a teeny tiny thing will be hidden. Everything will be disclosed and exposed. Now next ayah is the commentary. Allah is telling us what's going to happen. So now we know in advance. That demands some personal accountability. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ. As for that person who will be given his book of deeds in his right hand. This is the book of Allah. Surah Mubarakah Al-Haqqa. What's going to happen to that person? يَقُولُ هَاؤُمُ اقْرَءُوا كِتَابِيَهْ. He will say, come guys, hey, have my book, read it. إِنِّي ظَنَنْتُ أَنِّي مُلَاقٍ حِسَابِيَهْ. I knew I'm going to face my reckoning. I knew I'm going to see my hisab is going to be given to me. My book is going to be given to me and told me that this is what you did. And he will be fi jannatin aliyah qutufuha daniyah. He will be in the lofty paradise whose clusters, whose bunches of fruits are like low-hanging fruits. He will be eating there. Kulu washrabu hani'an. Khao piyo ash karo. Eat and drink with peace of mind. Bima aslaftum fil ayyamil khaliyah. For what you sent forth in your past days. This is the side of the right hand one, guys. وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ. And as for that person who will be given his book in his left hand, يَقُولُ يَا لَيْتَنِي لَمْ أُوتَ كِتَابِيَهْ. He will say, would that I was not given my book. وَلَمْ أَدْرِ مَا حِسَابِيَهْ. And I did not know my hisab, my account book. I did not know. What did I do? But there's no runaway on that day. There's no escape that day. You must see what you did. And nothing will escape on that day. And this is horrific. What Allah is going to command. خُذُوهُ. Seize him. Grab him. Get him. فَغُلُّوهُ. Then chain him up. ثُمَّ فِي الْجَحِيمِ صَلُّوهُ. Then throw him. Cast him in the burning fire. ثُمَّ فِي سِلْسِلَةٍ ذَرْعُهَا سَبْعُونَ ذِرَاعًا فَاسْلُكُوهُ. Then chain him up in such a long chain whose length is 70 cubits. 70 gaz lambi chain mein isko bandho. Now a question. The sinner is already in the burning fire. Thumma says, then, after throwing him in burning fire, why chaining him again in such a long chain? So this weight, number one, drags him to the bottom. Number two, that announces the anger of Allah, that Allah disliked his actions and what he did. Many other things, I don't want to open up the tafsir, but one of the most critical maybe is that psychological effect that you are detached from my mercy. You just read Dua Kumail, the Imam mentions, oh Allah, maybe I can bear the pain in fire. Fahabni, you know that the sentence there, that, oh Allah, I can maybe take the pain, but I cannot stay away from your mercy and I cannot be put among your enemies. I don't want to see, I cannot see that you put me among your enemies. Maybe I can take the punishment. But if you are told that God does not like you, you don't belong to him, you're not slave of God, you're not abd of God anymore, I cannot take that. This is the least. And then it continues. Now my point here, now as we already know, that my book of deeds is going to be given to me. And Allah is saying, وَمَا تُقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُم مِّنْ خَيْرٍ تَجِدُوهُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. Whatsoever you will send forth, regardless of good deeds or evil deeds, you will find it near Allah Jalla Shanu. Or other ayat, مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَاهُ. You know these ayat, Surah Zalzala. If you have done an atom of good deed, you will find that near Allah Jalla Shanu. You will see it there. That tells us what? That at the end of the day, as Imam Ali says, set yourself an hour. You sit in seclusion. No one is disturbing you there. You start with the beginning of the day. How did I do? How did I start my day? What did I do? Imam says if you did some righteous deeds, be thankful to Allah Jalla Shanu. And add on to more good deeds. And if you see some mistakes, some faults, You do istighfar. Let me give you the hadith. Have a salawat, please. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Imam says if somebody does Muhasiba-e-Nafs, these are the benefits which are going to come to him. Number one, waqafa ala uyubih. He is going to learn about his faults, his mistakes. I was few days ago going to renew my and my wife's health card. Not few months ago. I don't remember exactly. I had my driver's license. By the way, she doesn't drive. They said you have to bring something to prove your address for her. Mine was renewed at the spot. For her, I had to come home, print a utility bill, and go back. Now you tell me, if I knew that in beginning at home that I need her utility bill to be printed, will I go empty-handed? For these worldly things, and same goes, honestly, few weeks back, I went for my family's passports to renew, and then I went for my groceries. We have a Freshco store there, where the Passport Canada's office is right there. They line up. People had brought chairs. I guess you are following the news. Some lady, she rode the airplane to go to Calgary to renew her passport, and the title was saying she found it to be faster to renew her passport, to go to another province. My point was, if you are traveling, and you know your passport is either expired or is about to expire before your travel date, are you just going to sit and rest? Or are you going to just go and renew your passport? Muhasiba-e-Nafs works the same way. Imam says, waqafa ala uyubih. When you know in your passport application your pictures are missing, you will go get your pictures, take and print it and keep them ready. Or if you know one of the pictures must be testified by a guarantor. I'm not, by the way, a worker in the passport office, because I recently did, so I remember. You will do it. For the worldly run, we do everything. But when it comes for the hereafter, how much attention do we pay? Kya khoob sauda naqd hai, is haath de, us haath le. Imam says, second benefit, wa ahata bidhunubih. Then he will know his sins. And now when I know my sins, consequently, number three, wastaqala min adh-dhunub. Then he will repent from his sins. He will do tawbah. Now when he knows. Now when I know, my book of deeds will be given to me in either left or right hand. And I don't want to be among the evildoers. I don't want to see ugly stuff in my book of deeds. So what's the solution then? If you see some mistakes at the end of the day, right now it's in your memory, do istighfar. Istighfar means what? Oh Allah, in my simplest form, I made a mistake. I won't do it again. I'm an error person, please forgive me. And if you still can't, for the sake of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, forgive me. I won't do it again. Which sin is there? Who can resist against the wasila of Muhammad and ali Muhammad? You tell me. But it requires an attention-seeking heart and somebody who loves. Like, how can somebody commit sins when he knows I'm going to meet Imam Hussain Al-Assalam? I'm going to go meet Bibi Fatima Salamullahi alayha. Have a salawat on them. Salli ala. I normally mention a shair of Allama Iqbal in Persian at this point. He says, Tu ghani az har do alam man faqir. Roze mahshar udhr haye man pazir. Gar tumi bini hisabam na guzir. Az nigahe Mustafa pinhan begir. Oh Allah, you are self-sufficient. You are in no need. And I'm an absolute destitute, a faqir, a needy person. On the day of resurrection, please accept my excuses for my wrongdoings. Gar tumi bini hisabam na guzir. If there's no other way, that you must see my book of deeds, you must reckon me, then az nigahe Mustafa pinhan begir. Please don't allow Mustafa to look at my book of deeds, because then I will die with embarrassment. I cannot allow myself. Astaghfirullah, can somebody face their even child? They see them doing something really like wrong. How can somebody face Janab Rasul Khuda? And I will go a step further. Maybe astaghfirullah, he's a male, a man. You may see him. You may face Imam Ali. You may face Imam Hussain. But how can somebody face Bibi Zainab? How can you face Bibi Fatima Zahra Salamullah? She will turn to you and say, you used to say, Ya Hussein, and you were doing these heinous crimes, which we never liked. We never wanted our Shias to be like this. Well, they are Sakhi, they are generous, but my whole request is, dear brothers, now as we know how will be dealt in the last piece, Imam says, وَأَصْلَحَ الْعُيُوبِ. He will correct his faults. Now that I know I'm going wrong way, I'll take the exit, go the right way. I know my mistakes now. What don't we know which is haram today? MashaAllah, all the maraji are on our fingertips. You can send them emails. You can contact them even with your phones, their offices. You can read books. Everything is available nowadays on the internet. Enough for guidance to know what is halal from haram and what is mustahab from the wajib and what is, I'm not supposed to do. I mean, do's and don'ts of religion. There's no order. There's no excuse anymore. We're not living in this stone age 200 years ago when Maraji Udam were so far away. There were less or few scholars to be contacted. Nowadays, mashallah, anywhere you go, any city you go, you have many respected scholars to ask them, what has my God commanded me to do? What are my responsibilities and duties towards him, towards my family, towards my community, towards the Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam? Have a salawat, please. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. There's not only the harsh part that the commentary I gave you. Let me balance it with something which is Allah's pure mercy. Let me give you a story before I give you a beautiful hadith from Sheikh Mufid alayhi rahmah. A hadith says about the mercy of Allah and how merciful Allah is, that on the day of resurrection, this hadith is from our holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Salli ala Muhammad. Rasulullah says that when, under the tafsir of Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Mufassirin, they mention this hadith, almost everybody. A sinner will be brought in front of Allah Jalla Shanu. Of course, Allah is not physically there, meaning the angels are going to be there, Rasulullah is there, the Maidan-e-Mahshar is there. He's going to be brought there, and this poor soul, his head is down and he's crying badly. Hadith says his most obvious action will be he will be crying badly. A sound will come from Allah Jalla Shanu that, put your head up, why are you crying so badly? He will say, oh Allah, I'm dying with embarrassment. I have committed so many sins. Allah says, I know that. And I know even when you were committing those sins, the way you were laughing at that point. And you were enjoying or having fun with it. Then he cries even like worst. Puts his head down, he's falling, خَاشِعَةً أَبْصَارُهُمْ وَتَرْحَقُهُمْ وَانَا. There's no wow. خَاشِعَةً أَبْصَارُهُمْ تَرْحَقُهُمْ ذِلَّةٌ. Quran explains that situation. They will be covered and braced by the humility on that day. Zillat chai hogi un par. Allah will tell him, put your head up. Looking at you, I forgave you. You know why hadith says Allah will forgive him? Because he acknowledges his mistakes. He does not bring any justification in front of Allah Jalla Shanu. This is one of the very attractive attributes of a mu'min. He does not justify himself in front of Allah, in front of Apostle of Allah, or the Imam-e-Zaman Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajah Sharif. Rather, he admits his mistakes. Now, having said that, quickly, Sheikh Mufid has reported that I The Ravi is Wahab ibn Munabbah. He says, Qara'atu fi Zabur Dawood. I recited in the book the Psalms of Dawood alayhi salam. What did you read there? 3 things. I meant to quote one, but 2 others are also a great bonus. Ya Dawood isma' minni ma aqul wal haqqu aqul. Oh Dawood, listen to me what I'm going to tell you. And I tell you the truth. And what is that? Number 1. Man atani wa huwa yuhibbuni adkhaltuhu al-jannah. Whoever comes to me on the day of judgment and he loves me, I will put him in the paradise. I will make him enter the paradise. Number 2, same Ya Dawood isma' minni ma aqul wal haqqa aqul. Man atani wa huwa mustahyim min al-ma'asi allati asani biha. Whoever comes to me and he is embarrassed for his wrongdoings with what he disobeyed me, Allah will do 2 things for this guy. Number 1, ghafartuha lah. I will forgive him his mistakes. Number 2, wa ansaytuha hafidhai. You have that share? Az nigah Mustafa pinhan begir. I will make the keepers of him forget his mistakes so they will never realize what wrongdoings had he done, to save his face. Look, this is how merciful Allah is. Imam Sadiq says, if you have a 2 rak'ah salat, dil se tadap ke, oh Allah, to offer my best gratitude for you, Allah forgives all of his sins. I wonder, even with that merciful God, how can someone arrive to Allah on the day of judgment, he still has sins on his neck? Let me give you a beauty from Imam Sajjad alayhi salam with your salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Imam says, I wonder from that person whose singles, they outnumber his tens. Questioned, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, what do you mean? Imam says, have you not read that if you do 1 mistake, Allah will report only 1 sin? And if you do 1 good deed, man jaa bil hasanati falahu ashru amthal, he will get 10 good deeds. He says, what a bad guy this is. His singles, his mistakes, 1, 1, 1, 1s, they outnumber his 10, 10, 10s. What a hadith. This is for the Muhasiba-e-Nafs. I made a mistake, then another one, then another one, then another one. When it reached to 9, if I'm intelligent, I should commit 1 good deed to outnumber these wrong deeds. Because innal hasanati yudhibna sayyi'at, Quran declared in Surah Al-Kahud, your good deeds, they eradicate your wrong deeds. And Imam Rida alayhi salam at a point said, at a point if a sinner keeps on committing sins, disobeying Allah Jalla Shanu, and he sees no solution, he does tawbah but cannot stop from sins, cannot abstain from making mistakes. Imam says if he cannot do anything, then he should resort to sending salawat ala Muhammad and ali Muhammad. Salawat will drag him out of sins exactly the way shaitan will have dragged him into sins. Have a salawat on Muhammad and ali Muhammad. Ya Ali. Now the last piece which I wanted to report there, hadith of Shaykh Mufid. Allah said in Psalms of Dawood alayhi salam, Man atani bi hasanatin wahidatin adkhaltuhu al-jannah. Whoever came to me with 1 good deed, 1 good deed, guys, 1 good deed, I will make him enter the paradise. Hazrat Dawood was shaken. Ya Rabbi, wa ma hadhihi al-hasana. Oh my Lord, what is this 1 hasana that will make this abd enter the paradise? Pay attention. Qala man farraja an abdin muslimin. Whoever relieves an obedient slave of mine from his sorrows, from his griefs, that is the hasana which will make this person enter the paradise of Allah Jalla Shan. Now still if a person enters the hellfire, कितना वो बदबख्त होगा. अगर मैं आपको इसका खुलासा करना चाहूँ उर्दू में, मुहासिबा-ए-नफ्स का माना पता क्या है? मुहासिबा-ए-नफ्स का माना ये है कि अगर यहाँ पर आपका कोई बिजनेस पार्टनर जो है वो जानता है कि आपने हिसाब में اس کو $2000 دینا ہے. چونکہ بزنس پارٹنر ہے، پائی پائی کا حساب لے گا، ایک پیسہ بھی نہیں چھوڑے گا. اور قیامت کے دن جو اللہ فرما رہا ہے کہ نضع الموازین القسط، قسط یعنی عدل و انصاف کا ترازو جب ہم بلند کریں گے. خدا کیا ہے؟ عادل مطلق. ہمارا اصول دین کا عقیدہ خدا عدل کرتا ہے، معاف کرنا اور ہے. لیکن جب اللہ فرما رہا ہے کہ میں تمہارے لیے میزان بلند رکھوں گا، تو میرے بھائی اس میزان کے ارد گرد کون کھڑے ہوں گے؟ ہمیں یہ سوچ لینا چاہیے. آپ نے وہ آیات سورہ مرکہ توبہ کی سنی ہوئی ہے کہ جب ہم کچھ بھی اچھا یا برا کرتے ہیں تو وَسَيَرَ اللَّهُ، اللہ دیکھتا ہے، رسول خدا دیکھتے ہیں، معصومین دیکھتے ہیں. وہی علامہ اقبال والا شعر. کوئی کیا امام حسین کا سامنا کر سکے گا گناہوں کے ساتھ؟ ہمارا ایمان ہے نا، موت کے وقت ہی ساتھ میں ہمیں ایٹ لیسٹ 5 تن پاک کی زیارت ہوگی انشاءاللہ، ورود قبر کے وقت. کیا کوئی آدمی امام علی کے سامنے جا سکتا ہے نعوذ باللہ وہ شراب پیتا ہو یا وہ حرام خار ہو؟ کوئکلی امام حسین نے عاشور سے ایک دن پہلے 1000 کا لشکر آیا، ایک دن پہلے نہیں، 4-5 دن پہلے امام کے پڑاؤ ڈالنے سے، کربلا میں ورود سے 3 دن بعد 1000 کا لشکر آیا. مولا ہم آپ کی طرف سے جہاد کریں گے. امام نے فرمایا میری طرف سے جہاد کرو گے تو اس کی ایک شرط ہے. پوچھا یا ابنا رسول اللہ کیا شرط ہے؟ فرمایا میرے ساتھ میدان جہاد میں میرا علی اکبر بھی کھڑا ہوگا، میرا عباس بھی ہوگا، میرے اون و محمد حبیب ابن مظاہر دوسرے بھی کھڑے ہوں گے. اگر تم نے ان کے برابر میں کھڑے ہو کر جہاد کرنا ہے تو اس کی شرط یہ ہے، تم میں سے وہ میرے ساتھ آ سکتا ہے کہ جس کے پیٹ میں حرام نہ ہو. مقتل لکھتا ہے سب نے اپنے سر جھکا لیے اور چلے گئے. امام عادل اگر ایک اس طرح کے فاسق ہو کہ جو حرام حلال کا خیال نہیں کرتا، وہ حرام could be anything، ہو سکتا ہے وہ کبھی شراب خور رہے ہوں، ہو سکتا ہے انہوں نے حرام لقمے کھائے ہوں، حرام غذا، جو کہ آج کل بہت عام ایشو ہے. بس میں 2-4 جملے آپ کو مصائب کے دینے چاہ رہا ہوں. لیکن یہ اگر درس ہم سیکھ پائیں معصومین سے، کسی بھی شہادت یا ولادت کے اندر میری کوشش یہ رہتی ہے کہ کوئی پریکٹیکل سبق ہم معصومین سے سیکھ لیں. عزادارو امام ہادی روایت فرماتے ہیں، سید رضی مرتضیٰ ان کے بھائی، عیون المعجزات میں کہ امام ہادی ابھی 7 سال کے ہیں، آ کر اپنے بابا کی پھوپھی ان کی گود میں بیٹھ گئے اور امام کی حالت پر عجیب کیفیت ہے. کہا اماں میرے بابا شہید کر دیے گئے. بی بی فرماتی ہیں بیٹا ایسا نہیں کہو، ایسا نہیں کہتے. کہا نہیں اماں خدا کی قسم میرے بابا کو زہر دے کر سم جفا سے شہید کر دیا گیا ہے. بی بی نے جب دیکھا کہ امام نے قسم کھائی لیکن بی بی کو یقین نہیں آیا، امام علی مقام نے وہ وقت اور وہ تاریخ لکھ دی. جب امام جواد کی شہادت کی خبر آئی نا کہ ام الفضل نے زہر دے کر امام کو بغداد میں عالم غربت میں شہید کر دیا، تو سب کو پتہ چلا کہ معجزے سے معصومین کو پتہ چل جاتا ہے کہ کب پہلا معصوم شہید کر دیا گیا. عزادارو یہاں پر ایک نقطہ جو روایت میں ہے، سید مرتضیٰ لکھتے ہیں بی بی نے امام ہادی علیہ السلام کے سر پر شفقت سے ہاتھ پھیرا، انہیں اپنے سینے سے لگایا. یہ 2 امام ہیں، امام جواد بھی 7.5 سال کی عمر میں امام بنے، امام ہادی 7 سال کی عمر میں امام بنے. لیکن آپ کو بتایا نا کہ امام جواد کو 25 سال کی عمر میں شہید کر دیا گیا. آپ کو پتہ ہے کہ 25 سال کم سن ترین عمر ہے تمام اماموں میں. ایک اور جو شخصیت جو اپنے باپ کے لیے بہت تڑپتی تھی اور کم سنی میں شہید ہوئی، پتہ کون ہے؟ جناب فاطمہ زہرا. مقتل لکھتا ہے جب جناب کی شہادت ہوئی بی بی کی عمر 18 سال تھی. جیسے کہ امام جواد اپنے بابا امام رضا کو بہت یاد کر رہے تھے. جب ظاہر تھا نا ام الفضل ملعونہ نے باہر سے دروازے کی کنڈی لگا دی تھی. آپ نے مقتل سن رکھا ہے امام جواد کا. میں آپ کو ایک موازنہ دینا چاہ رہا ہوں بی بی فاطمہ کا اور امام جواد کا. عزادارہ جیسے امام جواد بابا کے لیے تڑپتے تھے ویسے ہی بی بی فاطمہ اپنے بابا رسول خدا کے لیے تڑپتی تھی. مقتل لکھتا ہے کہ لم تزل بعد وفات ابیہا. شہزادی کی یہ مصیبت بہت کم بیان ہوئی ہے ممبروں سے. کہتے ہیں کہ جناب فاطمہ زہرا بابا کی وفات کے بعد بی بی نے 3 کام کبھی ترک نہیں کیے. معصبۃ الرأس, بی بی کے سر پر ہمیشہ پٹی بندھی رہتی تھی. محمرۃ العین, شہزادی کی آنکھ ہمیشہ سرخ رہتی تھی. پتہ وہ آنکھ کیوں سرخ تھی؟ کسی ظالم نے جب تماچا, اس ظالم نے ایسا تماچا مارا, امام صادق فرماتے ہیں بی بی کے کان سے گوشوارہ ٹوٹ کر زمین پر نیچے گر گیا. جو تیسرا کام بی بی نے کبھی ترک نہیں کیا, منحدۃ رکن. شہزادی کا سن مبارک 18 سال تک تھا لیکن شہزادی ہمیشہ عصا کا سہارا لے کر چلتی تھی. ایسی پسلی ٹوٹی تھی. مجھے آپ کو ایک استاد کی روایت سنا دوں, آگے مقتل کا جملہ ہے آپ نہیں سن سکیں گے. شہزادی پر ہر ساتھ یہ حدیث بیان کرتی ہے 1 گھنٹے کے بعد شہزادی کو غش آ جاتا تھا. فی کل ساعت, ہر دن میں شہزادی کو بار بار غش آتا تھا. یہ روایت ایک عالم دین نے ایران میں جب ممبر سے پڑھی, مجلس ختم ہو گئی, سارے لوگ اٹھ کر چلے گئے وضو کرنے ادھر کرنے. ایک بندہ ایسے بیٹھا ہوا بری طرح رو رہا تھا. اب یہ عالم دین جا کر ان کے پاس بیٹھ گئے, ان کو سہارا دیا, تسلی دی, کہا میرے بھائی معاف کر دو اگر میں نے مقتل میں کوئی سخت جملہ پڑھ دیا ہے. کہتے نہیں آغا آپ نے کوئی سخت جملہ نہیں پڑھا, میں ہڈیوں کا ڈاکٹر ہوں. جب آپ نے پڑھا نا کہ شہزادی کی پسلیاں ٹوٹ گئی تھیں تو مجھے رونا اس بات پر آ رہا ہے کہ جب کسی کی پسلی ٹوٹتی ہے نا تو ہر سانس کے ساتھ چونکہ ٹوٹی ہوئی ہڈی حرکت کرتی ہے, اور سب سے زیادہ درد اسی ہڈی کا ہوتا ہے جس زخمی ہڈی کو زیادہ ہلایا جاتا ہے. اب میں بھی سمجھاؤں کہ کیوں شہزادی کو بار بار غش. الا لعنت اللہ علی القوم الظالمین وسیعلم الذین ظلموا ای منقلب ینقلبون. پروردگار عالم بحق فاطمہ زہرا, بحق فاطمہ زہرا کے سب سے کم سن چاند کے غروب ہونے کے مالک ہم سب کے گناہان صغیرہ و کبیرہ معاف فرما. ہم کو اس فساد اخلاقی و عقیدت سے محفوظ فرما جس کی آج باہر بھرمار ہے. ہمارے امام زمان کے ظہور میں تعجیل فرما. اللہم عجل لولیک الفرج وجعلنا من اعوانہ و انصارہ و اصحابہ. ماتم حسین یا حسین.